Hello mate and welcome back to Let's Code Season 6. In this episode it's going to be another reasonably short one and we're going to talk about saving maps. I wasn't originally going to do this early on in the season, but I feel like since we had the load map script created in the last episode, this would be a good time to talk about how to save the script. And I also made a couple of changes to the load function, or well, mainly one change to be honest, to the load function, which is just enabling us to do this more seamlessly. So let's just jump in and we'll talk about the changes that I've made to the load function first. So as you can see here, I've actually made a change to the opening file function here. Let me just pull that back. So what we're doing now is we're using Python's native open function, and then we're using a string here which looks in the data folder for a CSV file. And all we do with map file now is we just give the name of the file without the file extension. And when we're using the format function here, what we do is we use curly braces where we want to replace that with a specific piece of data. In this case, the first curly brace is going to be replaced by the config.gamedir. This just means that we can use this function no matter where we've actually downloaded the files for the game to. And then the second set of curly braces will be replaced by the text that we've provided with the map file text. Encoding still remains UTF-8 as you can see here. Now, so that enables us to use that, and when we call the map file function, or when we create a map in the game class now, what we do instead is we just say map, or whatever file it is we want to use, because all of the rest of the file data, file path data such as the extension and the location, is provided by the map class itself. Okay, so down here we have our saving script. Let me just pull all of it up there. You can see the whole thing now. Okay, so what we're doing is we're just doing a call. When we call the method, we just say save path, and the path will be again the file name. So just like when we created the map file using just the name of the file up here, we do the same thing with the path here. So we actually create our save file, and what we're doing is I've annotated the code here. So we're creating a temporary list to populate with our map as individual lines, because we actually write the text to a text file line by line. So we're creating an output list which is currently empty, and then we loop through all of the rows within our matrix. Then we create an empty string, and what we're going to do now is cycle through every single element within that matrix. So if you remember, our matrix it consists of either none, which is here, which is Ren'Py's way of, or Python's way of saying null, or the data for our save file or for our room, which in the case of our, let me just pull up the map here, you can see it will contain this currently. Okay, so this is what we're trying to convert our room back into. Our room data now needs to be turned back into this string and inserted into the save file, so that the output save file should be identical to this if we were to save this room. So we'll come back to our map class file down to the bottom here. So we've got our output list, and what we're doing is if the matrix cell that we're checking, for example, so we're calling our Y is going to be our row, and X is going to be each individual cell within that row. So what we're saying is if X is equal to none, then we're going to replace it with a 0 followed by a comma. Otherwise, what we're going to do is create a string called temp string, which is going to consist of the room's name, the room's exit numbers, and then the room's type, just like previously. And then it's going to remove the final comma, because if you see here, we add a comma at the end of it, and that's so that each time we don't have to add individual commas, we're just kind of adding it. And then at the very end, what we do is we use this temp string square brackets colon -1 to remove the last character from our list. So it'll remove the last comma from the string, and then it will add a new line, which is a backslash and n. Okay, and then all we do is we add this string, the final string, to our output list, and then it goes on to the next row and creates another string which is going to be added to the list, and so on until we have turned our game room back into a list of strings in this format. Okay, then the final thing that we have to do, if we come back to the map class, is actually output that data to a file. So what we do is we say with open data CSV format game dir path. So exactly the same command here, except now we're writing to the file, not reading from the file. So we're using quotation marks and W here. That's to say that we want to overwrite the file, and we're just saying as if. Then we're saying write lines output list to that file, and then close the file. And then we're just doing a print file save just as confirmation that it's actually made it this far without any errors. So here we are in our code, and I've typed in the line game.gamemap.savemap, and then we've just said I'm just going to save a file called test. I'm going to hit enter. And there you go, it's saying file saved, which means it hasn't thrown up an error. So now if we jump back into Atom, you can see that on the left here, if I just zoom in for you, we now have a file called test.csv, and if I open up that file, it contains what looks very similar. If I actually were to hit map.csv as well, you can see that map and sausage contain, map and test contain exactly the same information, which means that our function is formatting the data correctly and outputting it into a file so that we can create our own maps using the game engine later on when we add a map editor, if we do that. But this just means that we can save the map if we wanted to. We can add all kinds of other different information here as we progress, but for now the function works fine. So that concludes today's episode, a very short one again, only 7 minutes long. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you found it useful. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. But until then, you take damn good care of yourselves, alright? Bye bye.